I caught my husband in our bed with another woman on a Tuesday afternoon in October. The house was supposed to be empty. Derek had texted me that morning saying he had back-to-back meetings until 7. I was supposed to be at my mother's house, helping her sort through my late father's belongings, a task that had been waiting for 3 months since his passing. But I forgot my phone charger. Such a small thing. Such an ordinary reason to turn around and drive 20 minutes back home in the middle of the day. I didn't announce myself when I walked through the front door. Why would I? It was my house. The house I had lived in for 14 years. The house where I had planted the garden out back, where I had painted the kitchen cabinets myself because Derek said we couldn't afford a contractor, where I had hosted Thanksgiving dinners and birthday parties and anniversary celebrations. My house. I heard them before I saw them. The sounds coming from upstairs were unmistakable. The rhythmic creaking of our bed, the bed I had chosen, the mattress I had researched for weeks because Derek had back problems. The sounds of a woman's voice, breathless and urgent, calling out my husband's name. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step deliberate, each step giving me time to process what I was about to see, to prepare myself for the confirmation of something I think I had known, deep down, for longer than I wanted to admit. The bedroom door was open. Why wouldn't it be? Derek thought I was miles away, sorting through my dead father's belongings, too grief-stricken to notice anything amiss. I stood in the doorway. Derek saw me first. His face went through several expressions in rapid succession: confusion, recognition, shock, fear. The woman, young, blonde, someone I didn't recognize, screamed and grabbed for the sheets. I said nothing. I just stood there, watching my husband scramble off the bed, reaching for his pants, his mouth opening and closing like a fish pulled from water. "Viv, this isn't—" I held up my hand, and then I did something that surprised even me. I smiled. "Keep her," I said softly. My voice was steady, calm, almost gentle. "Keep the house too." Derek blinked. "That's it?" "That's it. I'm done." I turned and walked back down the stairs, leaving them tangled in sheets that I had washed just 2 days ago, in a room I had decorated with care, in a life I was about to walk away from, but not for the reasons Derek thought. My name is Vivian Okafor Harrison. I am 41 years old. I was born in Nashville, Tennessee, the daughter of Nigerian immigrants who built a successful restaurant empire from a single food truck into a chain of 12 locations across the Southeast. My parents taught me many things about survival, about strategy, about the difference between appearing defeated and actually being defeated. "Sometimes retreat is the smartest advance," my father used to say before he passed. "Let your enemy think they've won. Let them get comfortable in their victory. That's when they make mistakes." Derek Morrison thought he had won. He thought I was a broken woman, walking away from a marriage with nothing but a single suitcase. He had no idea what was waiting for him. And neither did I, not fully, not until the bank called 3 days later. I need to tell you about the 14 years that led to that moment in the doorway. I met Derek Morrison at a charity gala in 2009. He was 34 then, a mid-level executive at a regional insurance company. Handsome in that all-American way, square jaw, easy smile, the kind of confidence that comes from growing up comfortable and never having to question his place in the world. I was 27, recently promoted to senior marketing manager at my company, still carrying the hunger that comes from being the daughter of immigrants who had sacrificed everything for their children's success. Derek pursued me with the kind of intensity that felt flattering at the time. Flowers delivered to my office, surprise weekend getaways, love letters, actual handwritten letters that made me believe I had found someone special. "You're different," he told me on our 5th date, looking at me with what I thought was admiration. "You're not like the other women I've dated. You have ambition, drive. I've never met anyone like you." I should have asked what other women he was comparing me to. I should have wondered why being different felt like a compliment and a warning at the same time. Instead, I fell in love, or what I thought was love. The kind of love that makes you ignore small inconsistencies, dismiss quiet concerns, believe the best about someone who is showing you exactly who they are. We married in 2010, A beautiful wedding at my parents' flagship restaurant, the one my father had built with his own hands when he first arrived in America. 300 guests, a live band, a cake that took my mother 2 days to decorate. Everyone said we were perfect together. I believed them. The first few years were genuinely happy. Derek was attentive, supportive, seemingly devoted. He encouraged my career, celebrated my promotions, talked about our future with the kind of enthusiasm that made me feel secure. But somewhere around year 5, things began to shift. It started small, comments that felt like observations, but landed like criticisms. "You work so much. I feel like I never see you anymore. Your mother calls every day. Doesn't that seem excessive? That dress is a little revealing for a work event, don't you think?" Each comment, individually, seemed reasonable, concerned even, like a husband who cared about his wife, who wanted to protect her, who was looking out for her best interests. But together, over time, they formed a pattern of control. By year 7, I had reduced my work hours to part-time, then quit entirely. Derek said it made sense. His career was taking off. We didn't need my income. And wouldn't it be nice to focus on the house, on us, on building a life together? By year 10, I had distanced myself from most of my friends. Derek said they were negative influences who didn't understand our marriage, who gave me ideas that created conflict between us. By year 12, I was isolated, financially dependent, emotionally controlled. The ambitious woman Derek had claimed to admire had been systematically dismantled piece by piece, until all that remained was a housewife who needed her husband's permission to spend money on groceries, and I didn't even realize it was happening until it was already done. The first time I suspected Derek was cheating was 3 years before I caught him. It was a late night at his office, supposedly, but when I called the office line, no one answered. When he came home, his shirt smelled like perfume that wasn't mine, and his explanation about a client dinner didn't quite add up. I asked him directly, "Is there someone else?" His response was textbook. Denial, deflection, accusation. "I can't believe you would even ask me that. After everything I've done for you? After I've supported you through your career changes, through your father's illness? This is how you repay me? With suspicion?" By the end of the conversation, I was the one apologizing. That's how skilled he was. That's how conditioned I had become. But the seed of doubt was planted, and over the following years, I started paying attention in ways I hadn't before. The phone that was always face down. The new cologne he said he bought for work meetings. The gym membership he suddenly became devoted to after years of saying exercise was boring. The business trips that seemed to multiply, always to cities with no verifiable meetings. I didn't confront him again. I had learned that confrontation led nowhere except to my own apologies. Instead, I watched. I documented. I waited. And I started preparing. The preparation began 2 years before I caught him in our bed. It started small. A savings account in my own name, funded by tiny amounts I skimmed from the grocery budget. $20 here, $50 there. Money Derek never noticed was missing, because he had stopped paying attention to household expenses long ago. It grew to something bigger when my father died and left me an inheritance that Derek didn't know about. My father, wise until the end, had specifically structured the bequest to go directly to me, not to our joint accounts. "For your independence," his letter said, "in case you ever need it." My father had seen what I couldn't. Even from his hospital bed, weakened by cancer, he had recognized what Derek was doing to me. That inheritance, $127,000, went into an account Derek didn't know existed. I also started educating myself about our finances. Derek had always handled the money, always told me not to worry about the details, always assured me that everything was taken care of. But I began paying attention to the mail, to the documents he left lying around, to the conversations he had on the phone when he thought I wasn't listening. What I discovered was troubling. There were loans I didn't know about, credit cards in my name that I had never applied for, a second mortgage on our house that I had never signed for, except apparently I had, according to documents that bore a signature that looked like mine but that I had never written. Derek had been forging my signature, using my identity. building debt in my name while keeping his own finances clean. And there was something else. Something I didn't fully understand until later. A business registered in my name. A business I knew nothing about. I found the paperwork buried in his home office, a filing cabinet he kept locked, but whose key I had discovered hidden in his desk drawer. Morrison Consulting LLC, registered to Vivian Morrison, with me listed as the sole proprietor. I had never started a business. I had never signed these documents. But there they were, official and legal looking, with my name on everything. I didn't understand what it meant. Not yet. But I copied everything. I photographed every document. I built a file that I hid in a safety deposit box at a bank Derek didn't use. And I waited. The moment in the doorway changed everything. Standing there, watching my husband with another woman, I felt something I hadn't expected. Not heartbreak, not betrayal, not the soul-crushing devastation that I had always imagined I would feel if I ever confirmed my suspicions. I felt relief. Relief that I finally had proof. Relief that the uncertainty was over. Relief that I no longer had to pretend not to see what was right in front of me. And I felt something else, too. Clarity. Standing in that doorway, I saw the situation with perfect, crystalline clarity. Derek wanted me gone. He had been systematically pushing me toward the door for years. The isolation, the control, the financial manipulation. He wanted me to leave, but he wanted me to leave on his terms, in a way that benefited him. Catching him cheating was supposed to break me. It was supposed to make me leave in grief and shame, too devastated to think clearly, too heartbroken to ask questions about finances and assets and documents I had supposedly signed. Instead, I would leave calm, calculated, in complete control. Keep her, keep the house too. Those words weren't surrender. They were strategy. Let him think he had won. Let him get comfortable. Let him believe that his pathetic, beaten-down wife had walked away without a fight. Then see what happens when the truth comes out. I packed one bag. Deliberately, methodically. I chose items that would fit the narrative Derek expected. Some clothes, toiletries, a few sentimental items. The kind of things a woman in shock would grab while fleeing a broken marriage. I did not pack the documents hidden in my safety deposit box. I did not pack the laptop with copies of everything I had discovered. I did not pack the notebook where I had recorded every suspicious transaction, every forged signature, every piece of evidence of Derek's financial crimes. Those were already safe. Those were already waiting. Derek watched me pack from the bedroom doorway. The blonde woman had fled. I heard her car leaving while I was gathering my things. He looked confused and relieved in equal measure. Viv, we should talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. I mean about the house, the finances. We need to figure out. Keep it all. I don't want anything from you. His relief was palpable. Really? You're sure? Because legally, you're entitled to. I don't care about legal entitlements. I just want out. He nodded slowly, trying to hide his satisfaction and failing. Okay, if that's what you want. We can do this amicably. No lawyers, no fighting, just a clean break. A clean break. Exactly what I want. I zipped my bag and walked past him without looking back. I'll have my lawyer send papers, he called after me. Fine. And I'll need you to sign some things. Financial stuff, just formalities. I paused at the top of the stairs. What kind of financial stuff? Just tidying up, joint accounts, that kind of thing. Send whatever you need. I'll sign. The relief in his voice was almost painful to hear. Great, great. I'll send everything over tomorrow. I walked out of the house I had lived in for 14 years. I looked like a woman broken. I felt like a woman finally free. I went to my mother's house. She was waiting for me. I had called her from the car, explained only that I had left Derek, that I needed a place to stay, that I would explain everything when I arrived. My mother, Adaora Okafor, was 73 years old and had survived things that would have broken lesser women. Immigration, poverty, building a business from nothing, raising 3 children while working 18-hour days, losing my father after 47 years of marriage. When I walked through her door, she took one look at my face and knew. What did he do? He was in our bed, With another woman. She nodded slowly, not surprised. She had never liked Derek, had never said so directly, but I could always tell. Mothers know. And you left? I told him to keep everything, the house, the accounts, all of it. She studied my face for a long moment. Then, slowly, she smiled. You have a plan. It wasn't a question. I have information. The plan is still forming. Tell me. I told her everything. The years of suspicion, the documentation, the forged signatures, the mysterious business registered in my name, the inheritance that Derek didn't know about. When I finished, my mother was quiet for a long time. Your father warned me, she finally said. Before he died, he told me that Derek was not what he seemed, that there was something wrong with him, something hidden. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have listened? You were in love. You had already given him so much of yourself. I hoped I was wrong. I hoped your father was wrong. You weren't wrong. No, we weren't. She reached across and took my hand. What do you need? Time, a place to stay, and access to a good lawyer. I have all three. Your father's attorney, Jacqueline Chen. She handles more than just estates. She's a forensic specialist, uncovers hidden things. I remember her, from the reading of the will. She asked about you, wondered how you were doing, whether Derek was treating you well. I think she suspected something too. Everyone suspected except me. No, baby, you suspected. You just weren't ready to believe. There's a difference. I felt tears forming for the first time since the doorway. Not tears of heartbreak, tears of release, of finally being seen, of having someone believe me. What do I do now? Now you wait. You let him think he's won, and when he makes his next move, because men like Derek always make another move, you'll be ready. How do you know he'll make another move? My mother smiled, the smile of a woman who had seen more of the world than I could imagine. Because he put a business in your name that you didn't create. That wasn't random. That was preparation for something. And whatever that something is, he needs you cooperative to make it work. She was right. 3 days later, the bank called. I was sitting in my mother's kitchen drinking tea, trying to imagine what my life would look like now, when my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Hello? Mrs. Morrison? Mrs. Vivian Morrison? Yes, this is she. This is David Chen from First Tennessee Commercial Banking. I'm calling about an account matter that requires your attention. I'm sorry, I don't have any accounts with First Tennessee. There was a pause on the other end. Ma'am, according to our records, you are the sole proprietor of Morrison Consulting LLC, which holds a business account with our institution. My blood ran cold. Morrison Consulting. Yes, ma'am. We're calling because there's been a request to transfer a significant sum from the business operating account, and given the amount, we need verbal confirmation from the account holder. A transfer to where? To a personal account belonging to Derek Morrison. I sat very still, my mind racing. How much are we talking about? $847,000. $847,000 in a business account, in my name, that I didn't know existed, that Derek was trying to transfer to himself. I see, I said slowly. And this business, Morrison Consulting, what exactly does it do? Another pause. Ma'am, you're listed as the owner. Surely you know. Humor me. What services does Morrison Consulting provide? I could hear papers shuffling. According to our records, Morrison Consulting is a real estate investment firm. It's been operating for approximately 6 years, with significant capital moving through the accounts. You're listed as the sole proprietor, and Mr. Derek Morrison is listed as the operational manager with limited signatory authority. Limited signatory authority, meaning he can't transfer funds without my approval? Correct. For transfers above $50,000, we require confirmation from the account holder. That's you. And Derek requested this transfer when? Yesterday afternoon. He indicated it was urgent and that his wife, you, would confirm within 48 hours. Yesterday afternoon. Less than 24 hours after I walked out with a single suitcase, looking like a broken woman who wanted nothing from her marriage. He had moved fast. Too fast. "I need to call you back," I said. "Can you give me a direct number?" "Of course. And ma'am?" "Yes?" "I should mention, if you don't confirm the transfer, it will be flagged for review. And if there are any irregularities in the account—" "Irregularities?" "I'm not saying there are. But we've noticed some patterns in the account activity that are unusual. If you wanted to request a full audit of the account history, that would be within your rights as the account holder." "I understand. Thank you, Mr. Chen. I'll be in touch." I hung up and sat in silence, my mind processing everything I had just learned. A business in my name, operating for 6 years, with nearly $1 million in the account. That Derek had been running without my knowledge, using my identity, and was now trying to drain before I could discover it existed. The pieces clicked into place with terrifying clarity. Derek hadn't wanted me to leave because he was tired of our marriage. He wanted me to leave because he was about to need someone to blame. Whatever Morrison Consulting was doing, and I suspected it wasn't entirely legal, Derek had structured it so that all the liability fell on me. I was the owner on paper. I was the one whose name was on every document. If anything went wrong, if regulators came asking questions, if creditors came calling, I would be the one holding the bag. And by getting me to leave amicably, by convincing me to sign documents without reading them, by making me think I was walking away with nothing, he was planning to walk away with everything while leaving me to face the consequences. The audacity of it took my breath away. The stupidity of underestimating me would be his downfall. I called Jacqueline Chen within the hour. She was everything my mother had described: sharp, thorough, and completely unshockable. When I explained the situation, the cheating, the forged signatures, the business I didn't know about, the attempted transfer, she listened without interrupting. "How soon can you meet?" she asked when I finished. "I can be at your office in 30 minutes. "I'll clear my afternoon." Jacqueline's office was in downtown Nashville, in one of those glass towers that seemed to scrape the clouds. She met me in a conference room with a view of the entire city, the city where I had built a life, lost myself, and was now about to reclaim everything. "First things first," she said, spreading documents across the table. "Let's establish what we know." What we knew was damning. Morrison Consulting LLC had been registered 6 years ago using documents that bore my signature, forged, I was certain, by Derek. The business had been receiving regular deposits from a variety of sources, mostly other businesses with names I didn't recognize. The money would sit in the account briefly, then transfer out to various destinations, some legitimate-looking, some suspicious. "This looks like money laundering," Jacqueline said bluntly, "or at minimum some form of fraud. The business structure, the flow of funds, the use of your identity without your knowledge. Someone has been running an illegal operation under your name. And Derek is trying to empty the account before I figure it out." "Exactly. The $847,000 currently in the account represents his commission, essentially, the cut he takes before passing the rest along to wherever it's supposed to go." "What happens if I don't authorize the transfer?" "The bank flags it. They may initiate their own investigation. Derek loses access to the money, and more importantly, he loses his exit strategy. And what happens to me if this business is doing something illegal and my name is on everything?" "That's where it gets interesting." Jacqueline leaned forward. "You're the owner on paper, yes, but you have no actual involvement, no signed checks, no emails, no evidence that you've ever made a single decision about this business. Meanwhile, Derek is listed as the operational manager. His name is on the day-to-day transactions. His email address is the primary contact. His signature is on the routine paperwork. So the paperwork says I'm responsible, but the evidence says he is." "Exactly, and more importantly, the forged signatures. If we can prove that you never authorized the creation of this business, never signed those documents, never had any knowledge of its operations, then you're not a criminal. You're a victim. Identity theft, fraud, forgery. Derek committed crimes against you." "Can we prove that?" "With a handwriting expert and a thorough investigation? Absolutely. Your signatures on those documents won't match your actual signature. The notarizations, if there are any, will be fraudulent. The paper trail will lead back to Derek, not to you. So what do we do? Jacqueline smiled, the smile of a predator who had just spotted prey. We gather evidence. We document everything. We work with the bank to freeze the accounts and initiate an audit. And when the time is right, we hand everything to the district attorney. The district attorney? This becomes a criminal case? Money laundering, identity theft, fraud, forgery. Yes, this becomes a criminal case against Derek. And in the meantime, we file for divorce with full documentation of his financial crimes. I told him I didn't want anything. I told him to keep everything. What you told him in a moment of shock is not legally binding. What is legally binding is that you're entitled to equitable distribution of marital assets, including any assets hidden in fraudulent business structures. And given the circumstances, I'd say you're entitled to a lot more than half. How much more? Given that your husband committed crimes against you, forged your identity, and attempted to set you up as the fall person for his illegal enterprise, I'd say everything. I'd say you're entitled to every penny he has, and he's entitled to a prison cell. I sat back in my chair, processing everything. 3 days ago, I had walked out of my house with a single suitcase, looking like a woman who had lost everything. Now, I was sitting in a lawyer's office, learning that my husband had built an empire of fraud in my name, and that I was about to take it all. Where do we start? I asked. We start by not authorizing that transfer. We call the bank back and request a full audit. We retain a handwriting expert to analyze the signatures on the business documents. And we file for divorce with a petition for emergency asset freeze. And Derek? What happens to him? Derek thinks he's getting away with everything. Let him keep thinking that. The longer he believes you're a beaten woman who just wants out, the more comfortable he'll get. The more mistakes he'll make. My mother said the same thing. Your mother sounds like a wise woman. Jacqueline gathered her papers. I'll start the paperwork today. In the meantime, don't contact Derek. Don't respond to any documents he sends, and definitely don't sign anything. He said he would send papers for me to sign, financial stuff. I'm sure he did. He's probably hoping you'll sign away any claim to the business accounts without even knowing they exist. Don't sign anything. Forward everything to me. What if he gets suspicious? Let him. Suspicious is good. Suspicious means he's worried. Worried means he's not thinking clearly. And that's when people like Derek make fatal mistakes. I nodded slowly. How long will this take? The divorce itself? Probably 6 months to a year, depending on how complicated the asset discovery gets. The criminal case? That's up to the district attorney. But given the scale of the fraud, I'd guess we're looking at serious charges. And in the meantime? In the meantime, you stay with your mother. You rebuild your life. You let me handle the legal warfare. She looked at me directly. Can you do that? Can you be patient while we put together the case that will destroy him? I thought about the years of control, the years of manipulation, the years of having my identity stolen, my signature forged, my life used as a cover for crimes I knew nothing about. I've been patient for 14 years, I said. I can be patient a little longer. Good. Then let's begin. The following weeks were a masterclass in unraveling my husband's secrets. Jacqueline's team was thorough. Forensic accountants traced the money flowing through Morrison Consulting, identifying shell companies, suspicious transactions, and clear patterns of money laundering. Handwriting experts examined the documents bearing my signature and confirmed what I already knew. They were forgeries, created by someone who had practiced my handwriting but couldn't quite capture its subtleties. And the deeper we dug, the worse it got. Morrison Consulting wasn't just laundering money. It was part of a larger network, a scheme that funneled funds from fraudulent real estate investments through a series of shell companies, taking cuts at every stage. The investors thought they were buying into legitimate developments. The money was actually being siphoned off by Derek and his partners whose names I recognized. Derek's college roommate, Brandon Mitchell, who had started a real estate development firm 5 years ago. Derek's boss at the insurance company, Richard Ashworth, who had retired early to pursue other opportunities. Derek's cousin, Marcus Morrison, who ran a consulting firm that seemed to have no actual clients. A network of fraud built over years, with me as the unwitting cover. And $847,000 was just the beginning. The forensic accountants estimated that over 6 years, more than $12 million had flowed through the various connected accounts. Derek's personal cut, the money he was trying to transfer before I could find out, was roughly $2.3 million. $2.3 million that he had planned to take, while leaving me to face the consequences of crimes I had never committed. The audacity was breathtaking. So was his downfall. Derek started getting nervous about 3 weeks after I left. He texted me repeatedly, asking if I had received the documents he sent, asking when I planned to sign them, asking if we could talk about moving forward amicably. I didn't respond. Then he started calling, leaving voicemails that started concerned and escalated to agitated. "Viv, I need you to sign those papers. It's just routine stuff. The sooner we get this done, the sooner we can both move on. Vivian, I don't understand why you're not responding. I thought we agreed to handle this like adults. This is getting ridiculous. I've been more than generous. The least you can do is sign the damn papers." I forwarded every message to Jacqueline. "He's panicking," she said. "The bank audit has frozen the accounts. He can't access the money, and he doesn't know why. His partners are probably pressuring him. What happens when he finds out? When he finds out that his wife, the broken woman who walked away with nothing, is the one who pulled the plug on his entire operation?" Jacqueline smiled. "I imagine it won't be pretty. Should I be worried about my safety? We'll take precautions. But honestly, Derek's not the violent type. He's the type who commits crimes from behind a desk, who manipulates systems instead of people. When cornered, men like him usually try to negotiate, not attack." She was right. Derek's next move was a meeting request. "We need to talk," his text said. "In person. This has gotten out of hand." I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop, public, neutral, with Jacqueline waiting nearby in case I needed backup. He arrived looking terrible. The confident, handsome man I had married was gone. In his place was someone haggard, desperate, clearly not sleeping well. "What's going on, Viv?" he demanded as soon as he sat down. "I tried to make a routine transfer and the bank froze my accounts. They're asking about an audit, about irregularities." "Your accounts? I thought Morrison Consulting was my business." His face went pale. "You know about that?" "I know about all of it, Derek. The business you registered in my name, the documents you forged, the money you've been laundering through shell companies for 6 years. I can explain. Can you explain why you committed identity theft against your own wife? Can you explain why you set me up to take the fall for your crimes? Can you explain why you were trying to drain $847,000 from accounts in my name before I could find out they existed? It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. You wanted me gone. You've wanted me gone for years, but you needed me to leave on your terms, thinking I had nothing, signing documents without reading them, so you could complete your exit strategy and disappear with the money while I faced the consequences." Derek said nothing. His silence was its own confession. "But here's what you didn't count on," I continued. "You didn't count on me paying attention all those years you thought I wasn't. You didn't count on me building my own safety net, and you definitely didn't count on the bank calling me, the account holder, to verify a suspicious transfer. What do you want?" His voice was barely a whisper. "What do I want? I want the divorce you asked for. I want equitable distribution of our actual marital assets, not the ones you tried to hide. And I want you to deal with the legal consequences of your crimes without trying to drag me down with you." "I could go to prison." "Yes, you could. I'll lose everything." "You already have." I stood up. "My lawyer will be in touch. In the meantime, don't contact me again. Any communication goes through legal channels from now on." "Viv, please." "Goodbye, Derek." I walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. He looked like a man who had lost everything. For once, appearances weren't deceiving. The legal proceedings took 8 months. The divorce was finalized first. Given the circumstances, the fraud, the identity theft, the evidence that Derek had been systematically preparing to frame me for his crimes, the judge was not sympathetic to his requests for equitable distribution. I received 80% of our legitimate marital assets: the house, the retirement accounts, the cars, everything Derek had accumulated while I was being a housewife who owned nothing. The illegitimate assets, the money from Morrison Consulting and its connected enterprises, were frozen pending the criminal investigation. I would receive none of that money directly, but I also bore none of the liability. The forensic evidence clearly showed that I had been a victim, not a participant. The criminal case came next. Derek was charged with money laundering, wire fraud, identity theft, and forgery. His partners, Brandon, Richard, and Marcus, faced similar charges. The entire network was unraveled, thread by thread, until nothing remained but the evidence of their crimes. Derek took a plea deal, 10 years with possibility of parole after 7. His partners received similar sentences. The investors who had been defrauded received partial restitution from the seized assets, and I walked away clean, and with a new understanding of who I was and what I was capable of. My mother threw a dinner party the week after the criminal sentencing. It was small, just family, a few close friends, the people who had supported me through the darkest year of my life. We gathered at her house, the house where I had grown up, the house that had been my refuge when my marriage collapsed. "To Vivian," my mother said, raising her glass, "who walked out of a broken marriage with one suitcase and walked into freedom." "To Vivian," everyone echoed. I felt tears forming, not of sadness, but of gratitude. For my family, for my mother, for Jacqueline, for everyone who had believed in me when I was still learning to believe in myself. After dinner, my mother and I sat on her porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and gold. "Your father would be so proud," she said. "I wish he could have seen it. He did see it, the beginning of it at least. He knew you would find your way out. That's why he left you that inheritance, structured so Derek couldn't touch it. He protected me even when I couldn't protect myself. That's what family does." She took my hand. "But you protected yourself too. Those documents you gathered, the attention you paid when everyone thought you weren't looking, that was all you. I spent so many years feeling powerless. You were never powerless. You were waiting. There's a difference." Waiting for what? For the moment when acting would matter, for the information you needed to act effectively, for the strength to walk away and the wisdom to know what to do next. It didn't feel like wisdom. It felt like survival. Sometimes they're the same thing. She squeezed my hand. "What's next for you?" I thought about the question. I don't know exactly. I have the settlement money. I have the inheritance Dad left me. For the first time in 14 years, I have options. What kind of options? Maybe I'll start a business, something real, something I build myself, not a cover for someone else's crimes, something that's actually mine. What kind of business? I've been thinking about consulting, helping women who are in situations like mine was. Women who don't realize their identities are being used, their signatures forged, their futures leveraged for someone else's benefit. That's a needed service. I know. I needed it, and it didn't exist. Or if it did, I didn't know how to find it. So you'll create it. Maybe. Or maybe I'll just rest for a while. Learn who I am when I'm not being someone's wife. Figure out what I want when no one else is making decisions for me. That sounds healthy. It sounds terrifying. The best things usually do. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the last light fade from the sky. "Mom?" "Yes, baby?" "Thank you for being here, for believing me, for not saying, 'I told you so.'" "I would never say that." "Dad might have." She laughed. "Your father definitely would have. He was never shy about being right." "I miss him." "So do I. Every day." She looked at me with eyes full of love and wisdom, and the kind of strength that comes from surviving the unsurvivable. "But he's here in a way. In the lessons he taught you, in the protection he left behind, in the daughter he raised to be stronger than she knew." "I don't feel strong." "You survived 14 years of manipulation. You gathered evidence while being told you were worthless. You walked away from everything and rebuilt your life. You took down a criminal enterprise without ever raising your voice. That's not strength. That's just doing what had to be done. Baby, that's the definition of strength. Not feeling powerful, just doing what has to be done anyway. I leaned my head on her shoulder, the way I used to when I was a child, when the world was simple and my mother could fix anything. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. Always. If this story resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and whether you've ever had to rebuild your life from what seemed like nothing. Like and subscribe for more stories about resilience, justice, and the power of paying attention when everyone thinks you're not. She's just a housewife. She owns nothing. He laughed when he said it. I packed one bag, left like a woman broken. 3 days later, the bank called me, not him. Ma'am, we need confirmation on the transfer of his business loan. Which business? The one in your name. Morrison Consulting, LLC, a company I never created. $847,000 in accounts I never knew existed. 6 years of fraud, built on my forged signature. A network of money laundering, with me set up as the fall person. He thought I was just a housewife. He was right, but this housewife had been watching, documenting, waiting. And when the truth came out, he lost everything. The money, the freedom, the wife he thought he had broken. Keep her. Keep the house too. That's what I said when I caught him cheating. He thought I was surrendering. I was setting him up. The best victories look like defeats until they don't.